Yummy, yummy.
When I was in athletics, the javelin was my discipline, so to
Yes.
speak. But for anyone who doesn't know, can you actually just explain what the javelin is? Because I don't think a lot of people know.
Well, it's javelina in Spanish, speerwerven in German, or the good old javelin, which is the British way of saying it. Obviously, it's a long implement which is carbon fibers. It's made with carbon fibers, and it also has a center of gravity. So, depending on how your height and size, how you project that spear with speed and excellence technically is going to make a difference to what the end product is, the distance. It's 7'2" in height. Men's are 8 foot.
I didn't realise it was that long.
Yeah, and it weighs a bag of sugar roughly in its length. Now, looking at a javelin, it's very easy. You can look at a javelin and think, oh, I can throw that a long way. But actually, it's technically, you have to be quite efficient. And you have to have strength, speed, and technique. And if you don't have and apply yourself properly, it's like a human bow and arrow. If you don't project it properly through the nose of the javelin, it's not going to fly. You'll end up stabbing your foot, or it'll veer off left or right.
Been there a few times,
And so it's a beautifully aesthetic event. If you're sitting in the stadium, it's one of the most beautiful events that you can watch from all around the stadium, because aesthetically it flies and it reaches and soars through the skies. It's amazing.
You mentioned the technique. I mean, I guess this is quite a sort of naive question, but what is the technique of throwing a javelin? Because it's not just as simple as throwing a ball.
Oh no, I mean, obviously you've got to have the technique is something like, with all sportsmen and women, when you see they perfect something at the highest level, it's taken hours and hours of repetition of drills and skills to perfect that technique. And for javelin throwing, it's no different. I mean, it's not an easy event, but it's a combination of being strong, fast, agile, flexible in ways that, you can get in and out of positions quickly. You can hold positions when running in cross-step runs. So you, from start to finish, build up that speed like a Ferrari, and then you explode. It's almost like pulling back a bow on an arrow, and then it releases and off it goes. It's got to be smooth. The transition has got to be smooth, but it's got to be powerful.
I mentioned earlier that you're an Olympic medalist, you were a world champion. Looking back on the career, looking back on the wins and the accolades, what would you say you were most proud of?
For me, I mean, sport was my saviour as a child, as growing up, and sport was something that I was able to express myself and earn the respect from my peers, because growing up in care was pretty a difficult time for me. And academically, it was quite tough, because most kids that grow up traumatized without unconditional love, by the time they're 14, it's a well-known fact, 27% of our young kids have mental health issues. Very hard when you're trapped in your own mind to then go to school and study. So it was a sense of freedom that sport gave me. It was a chance for me to earn my respect from my peers. And it also taught me a lot about myself in terms of life skills, the skills that I learned. Being team captain of most of the team sports enabled me to learn a little bit more about how to deal with people, how to handle myself in time management, how to discipline myself in organising events, like the practices. And then, the love of what I do. You can work in and which is important, you work in failure. And it's not that failure defines the end product. It actually is the route to succeeding. So you have to work in that area to perfect it. And so for me, it was all about a learning curve. And my biggest success really came from, as an athlete, from the care system. Starting at the age of 13, training. I mean, when I was 11, I'll take you back a bit earlier than that. I was always being told in the care system, oh, you'll never amount to anything, you'll end up, because in the 60s and 70s, London was all about marijuana and prostitution. And when care leavers left the care system, it was 16 then, not 18 as it is now. And 18, by the way, is far too young. You know, most children that live in conventional families don't leave the home until they're way into their late 20s. All right, your housing's not affordable
About
to
to say,
them.
definitely these days.
Yes, and then they've got the bank of mum and dad, and they've got the support and safety nets where these young kids don't.
Mhm.
They're unskilled, unprepared, no safety net, and yet their biggest challenges is financial insecurity. Then having to sort of circumnavigate rent, bills, employment, and it's a known thing that a third of all these children that leave the care system within the first 2 years end up homeless. So my fear was that at 11, when it was being told to me constantly by the house parents, oh, you'll never amount to anything, you'll end up a junkie and a prostitute on the streets. Really? I couldn't believe that that would be my destiny. And it kind of struck me, you know, that I need to find something that I can do, that I can, you know, be able to get myself out, to be self-financing and out of this dark place, you know, of what the future holds. And at 11, I was watching on the TV the Olympics, the Munich Olympics, and I saw Mary Peters, who was then the pentathlon Olympic champion in Munich in 72. And that's where the seed was planted. You know, then I realized this was something I could do. I loved my sport and I want to be a champion athlete so I can live in a big mansion and drive Rolls Royces, which isn't the case, may I add, I'm still working. But what it did for me, it gave me, you know, a focus. It gave me the dream was to become a successful athlete. What event I didn't know. I did start as a heptathlete, which is now, you know, what was then pentathlon, now heptathlon. And that was where I started, you know, as a youngster, and that's what my dream was, to be a successful athlete.
Which you did become, and you became a champion. And so when you won world champion, when you won those Olympic medals, what was that feeling like? Holding a world record as well.
Well, so let's sort of backtrack a bit here, because the build up to being an Olympic athlete and winning, I won 11 major titles, 11 major championships in the 20 years I was competing. And my biggest single success really was not just the end destination of winning golds, as lovely as that was, and that's what I was aiming for. But the biggest takeaway for me was the experience of self-growth. That, to me, from a kid from the care system, was the biggest single achievement. And even now, to this day, I'm able to share that and impart that to others in the care system as a beacon of hope. You know, you can succeed at whatever you choose to do. And it only takes one person in a child's life to be a bright, shining star, be their role model.
Hungry for more? Hit subscribe.